Hi, I'm Jay Richards with the Discovery Institute. We are at the COSM 2022 conference, and we just heard a terrific and engaging panel on electric cars, salvation or fantasy, and that was actually sort of representative. And so it was moderated by Brian Mistely of INREX and also on the board of Discovery Institute, Tony Pasowitz, Walter Myers, and Howard Hayden. And I'm joined by Walter Myers, who is Principal Engineering Manager at the Microsoft Corporation. Walter, good to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, so that was an amazing panel because it sort of represented the different perspectives on this. So kind of lay it out for people that didn't see it, what happened in the panel.
Well, for those who didn't see it, what we wanted to discuss were, with respect to looking at EVs, it's a little bit hyperbolic to sort of say they're either, they're evil or great evil, or they're great or whatever. But the thing is, there are a variety of views with respect to the various types of electric vehicles. So let me sort of lay out
do that.
What they are. So you have pure electric vehicles, and we'll just call those electric vehicles.
Like the Teslas.
Like
batteries,
the Teslas.
no
Battery
gas
is the only thing that's powering the car,
Yep.
the motor.
Yep.
Then you have plug-in hybrids. Plug-in hybrids are a hybrid of an electric motor and an internal combustion engine, a gasoline engine.
Yep.
So basically the electric motor will power the car at idle and at lower speeds, and then the gasoline engine will kick in. Okay? Now you have to charge that plug-in hybrid. Okay? Because it doesn't have a battery as big as the electric vehicle, but it does have a smaller battery.
I see, and the engine doesn't recharge the battery, so you still have to charge it.
The engine can recharge the battery.
Okay.
That's not the most efficient way to do it, because electricity is much cheaper to charge. Electricity is much cheaper to charge it than charging it with the gasoline.
Yeah, makes sense.
Then you have the hybrid electric vehicles, like the Toyota Prius that people are used to seeing. It has a much smaller battery. It can't drive the car very far. In the case of plug-in hybrid, the battery can drive the car from anywhere from 19 to 60 miles, depending on the make and the model. But you can only go 2 to 3 miles in a regular hybrid.
Gotcha.
But the great thing about hybrids is that hybrids give you almost the same with respect to CO2 emissions, which is a real issue with respect to climate change. They're fairly comparable to electric vehicles, pure electric vehicles.
Okay, that's really interesting. And so, there's this law that you talked about that's going to kick in, I guess, in 2035 in California. So describe this and some of the dilemmas. And you, as living in California, this is sort of existential for you. So
yeah, living in Southern California and having solar and an electric vehicle.
Okay, so you're doing all you can.
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can. Well, in 2035, they're going to ban the sale of all gasoline engines. So that includes, basically you will only be able to purchase new an electric vehicle. You will not be able to purchase a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid electric vehicle. If there's any gasoline in there, you can't purchase it.
And what is the cheapest pure electric vehicle that people could buy new right now? I mean, it's not really cheap, right? We're talking fairly expensive.
Well, they're fairly expensive. I mean, the prices are coming down. Prices are coming down.
Yeah,
I mean, you can get an electric vehicle in the 30s now. It's going to be a smaller vehicle with a smaller battery, but it'll also have smaller range as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so what are the problems then with this policy, do you think?
The problems I think with the policy are that, number one, to create a mandate like this, it's not based on science and it's not based on practicality. Think, for example, I live in a home. I can charge my car at home, and I don't have much of a commute, so it works for my use case.
Right.
But what if you live in an apartment?
Oh yeah.
No apartment complex is going to build chargers for everyone everyone. But if, let's say, everyone had a plug-in hybrid or a regular hybrid vehicle, well, the regular hybrid vehicle, you get great CO2 emissions over the life of the car relative to a battery electric vehicle. So you're already ahead. You're doing well. And with the plug-in hybrid, you get a little bit better efficiency. But the thing is, if you can't charge your battery, you're not stuck. If you have to go on a long trip, you're not at the mercy of a charger.
Okay, so this is crucial because I assume that the California law is based on a particular conviction about CO2 and emissions, so sort of terror about the prospects of that, do everything. And so that's why your point is so important, that in fact you don't need pure electric actually to reduce the CO emissions. You could actually use a hybrid that if you're calculating that over the life of the car, you actually get a similar carbon footprint for a lot less trouble.
You do, and the interesting thing is that what they call, there's this measure they call the well to wheel.
Yes.
Right. So well to wheel means from the well, or where you're actually getting the mining of the
exactly.
So you have lithium, cobalt, and rare earth.
And all the energy involved in doing that.
Exactly.
So you're not just looking at the mile on the road.
Right. But that's the environmental degradation.
Yes.
It's highly environmentally degradative.
Yes.
Okay. To mine for battery.
And it's in places, tends to be in places like China, which don't have really good environmental standards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also in South America. I mean, if you look at, for example, just the mining of lithium. Lithium typically is going to be mined under salt flats, and those are in like Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. Well, 500,000 pounds of earth has to be turned up to get 1,000 pounds of lithium.
Yep.
Okay? Then 500,000 pounds of water.
Wow.
Okay? To get that. So when you look at that's very expensive from an environmental perspective.
It really
now,
is.
With respect to an electric vehicle, then you've paid pretty much all of that up front.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't pay that. You don't pay as much.
You're not paying it. When you're charging.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So that kind of externality is built into that list price.
It's built into that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so of course Tony, who was on the panel, so he was. I want to describe him accurately, but he's the most enthusiastic about this transition, I guess, to pure electric more quickly than some others. Did I describe this accurately?
Well, he's actually in the business.
Yes,
right?
okay.
But I understand that. But the thing is, I think Tony's perspective is that he really feels it's a technological problem that we will solve, and that the battery technology will get better. So everything will get better because if we just unleash the private market. So he really feels that the private market, as long as the government is not making mandates, and we do agree on that.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
The government is not making mandates and lets the best and doesn't pick winners and losers.
Yes.
Then it'll fall out of just people making normal everyday decisions. For example, if you live in an apartment and you have to drive 40 miles to work, you're probably not going to get an electric vehicle. You're probably going to get a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid or a regular hybrid.
And because there's all these kind of complexities with individual use cases, and so that's really important. And so really he's banking on the innovations coming in, because it's certainly all the stuff we're talking about has to do with the batteries we're using now. And so it's just that, by definition, we haven't gone through that entrepreneurial discovery process, so we actually don't know what it is.
Think about it. But the thing is, if you're already in California, and other states are going to follow California. If you've already restricted it to electric vehicles, why would anyone innovate or invest in plug-in hybrids or hybrid vehicles if you've already been told, and one of your largest markets in California, why would you innovate?
Yeah, you've captured the market.
Yeah, they're constraining the innovation.
That's the irony. I mean, unfortunately, so often well-meaning government regulations do this, don't they? It's like, look, I believe that you mean well, but this is not going to do what you think it's going to do.
This is not going to do it. I think California needs to think more carefully about this. And Tony made the point that probably it's not going to actually happen in 2035. I think they're going to recognize it, because there's no way we're going to have the infrastructure ready for that.
Yeah, and that tends to be what happens with these really draconian environmental regulations, with the Paris Accords and with the Kyoto, is that in that case countries will pledge because there's a benefit to that, and then as it gets close to the deadline, they start hedging because of reality.
Yeah, I think they'll see that. In fact, Wall Street Journal did a really great interactive infographic last year, where they basically showed that based on the Paris Accords, I think they wanted to reach 39 gigatons between 2019 and 2050. The cutoff to say so that we don't raise global temperatures more than 1.7 degrees Celsius is 39 gigatons.
Okay.
If we went all hybrid, we would be at 42.
Wow.
If we went all electric vehicles, then we would be at something like 36.
So that's the sort of calculation.
That's the sort of calculation.
I see.
But what they don't calculate is, okay, well, what about if you do go all in for battery electric vehicles, have you calculated the cost of what is this going to put on the electrical grid?
Yep.
What is this going to put in terms of production of lithium and cobalt and all the other minerals we need? How is this going to impact the environment? You have to think about those downstream effects. Because,
Absolutely.
Yeah, in countries, in the South American countries, all the water that they're taking, that was water that they're taking from farmers.
Wow.
There are animals that are dying, fish that are dying because of
word.
runoff from the lithium mining and processing.
Okay.
So you have to think about those things.
Absolutely.
As well.
If say we're talking about the environment, we're talking about the whole planet.
Exactly.
We can't just say, well, let's just exclude this disaster over here and look at what we're doing, right here.
Virtue signaling. This is California. It's like, and I mean, even if you look at California in terms of our oil, we have plenty of oil and natural gas. But we import something like 60% of the oil that we need in California when we have it under our feet. And this is coming from foreign sources.
No, exactly.
So you have to sort of ask the question, well, you're virtue signaling and you're saying you've pushed off all the environmental degradation to someone else to say that you're clean.
Exactly. And the truth of the matter is, if it was done in California, it'd be a lot cleaner. Yeah. I know, it's so frustrating. So what do you think, I mean, I'm asking you to speculate, but what do you think is going to happen with this technology if we're talking, let's say 10 years out, or 13 years out? Let's get out to, 2035.
I think the auto manufacturers, I think the smart ones.
Yes.
And Toyota, I think, is leading the way.
Okay.
I believe that the auto manufacturers are going to continue to innovate in hybrid and plug-in hybrid, and of course doing batteries as well, because they know that there's probably going to be a mix, and there's going to come a reckoning where people are going to recognize that you can't, if you put these people on all battery, this is just practically not going to work.
No.
So I think we will see that innovation, and I think that over time, some of these government people who make these mandates, they'll see that there's probably, it's not very wise to have made that call, and they'll need to adjust.
Okay, that's a hopeful note on which to end. Yes, exactly. Thank Walter. Good to see you.
Thanks so much, Jay.
All right.
Okay, take care.
I'm Jay Richards with Discovery Institute. We're at COSM 2022.